I wanted to do this response video because there's lots of people slinging lots of allegations at me at the moment. Some are pretty funny and some are just stupid. This happens to me probably once a year. People going ape about something that I've done. I've done kind of viral video after viral video after viral video. Um, but I'm just going to clear the air on a couple of things because some of the attacks that come at me are just bizarre and I don't even understand them. So, before we get into that, the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is well poisoning. What poisoning the well means is that people will attempt to, before you have any message that you ever commit to or say or any debate that you're ever in, to somehow try to make you look bad or make your position look unsound or something like this before the position is ever even stated. That's what poisoning the well is. Most of the trivial attacks, which have been coming at me from TikTok, and by the way, they've been coming at me on TikTok for years. This is nothing new. Are based around that specifically. They're based around the idea of well poisoning. So, as we get into the video, just remember that if you come into it thinking that there's, some perceived issues that you didn't know about before or something like this, it's likely that you are the victim of well poisoning. Somebody has tried to poison the well with rage bait or something else, and so you're unclear about my position on multiple issues. So I'm going to clarify a bunch of those today. I've been meaning to do this for a while. I didn't have time for a long time to do it, but now I do. First and foremost, let's discuss the politics of personal destruction. The idea behind this is there are people who, well, they're somewhat considered unassailable. Perhaps they are very difficult to tangle with. They may have very good positions, very good views, or be very popular due to the fact that the way that they're able to orate and disseminate those views gets picked up by a lot of people. So, what happens often online and in the political realm is the politics of personal destruction comes into play. The basic idea here is that, hey, this person over here is a bad guy based on whatever the perceived sins are of his personal life or her personal life. And so they mercilessly attack those arenas because they can't actually contend with anything that person is saying. And so most of the trivial attacks against me are always based around this. It's always based around the politics of personal destruction, though often it has the opposite effect of what the detractors want. I still think that it's worth using this opportunity to clarify a multitude of positions that people are under very wrong impressions of. The first one that we need to get into is red pill. Andrew is a red pillar, is a primary criticism that you'll see of me from various hit pieces online that I'm a red pill content creator or that I in some way represent red pill ethics or red pill anything. The opposite is actually true. I'm a Christian ethicist, and I always view debates from the position of Christian ethics, always. Now, my audience and fan base knows this. However, people can use select clips in order to make it appear that that is not the case. But I'm going to demonstrate for you with clips that it is, in fact, the case, and that I have been very consistent on this point from day one. The reason that I tangle up inside of the Manosphere and Red Pill spaces at all is specifically because I'm arguing and debating with their prescriptions, usually pickup artistry, sleeping with lots of women, promiscuity, abortion, or male feminism, various things like this, which come out of some of that red pill content space. So the first thing we need to do is look, and let me show you the clips, which will prove beyond all doubt that this is a completely made up hoax, and this hoax is designed specifically around, again, the politics of personal destruction.
I'm not a one of these red pill PUA teachers who writes some kind of program and tries to sell it online. I'm a political commentator, and a political pundit, and a political debater. How could you ever say that you craft a better society than I, as a Christian ethicist, would craft?
My view, I'm a Christian ethicist, and I focused on politics and specifically politics. Now, let me explain my positions on Red Pill and explain my positions on the Manosphere in general, as though my audience knows all of this. Many newcomers coming in likely don't. But again, this is consistent across my content for years. So let's start with what the position is. The position is that Christian ethics are superior to all other ethical purviews and worldviews. And that's where I argue from. That's the position that I always argue from. Can there be some overlap with other worldviews? Yes. That's every worldview which exists. Probably going to be some kind of overlap. An example of this is red pillars really hate feminists a lot. At least many red pillars do. And I debate often against feminism, again, from a Christian worldview. And I utilize arguments which have been picked up all over the internet, like force doctrine and things like this, which I interjected into the ethos to help as a weapon against feminism. One of the major issues here that the reason I think I get conflated with the manosphere red pillars and things like this, because I do some debates in that sphere. Remember that this accounts for very little of my content, by the way, but a lot of that stuff does end up going viral because people are interested in it, but it accounts for very little of my content. I'm actually the only one who does this. That's why I get conflated often with red pill positions and red pillars themselves, is because I'm the only Christian ethicist that I'm aware of who will actually go into these spaces and argue and dismantle red pill talking points and red pill nonsense. The only one that I'm aware of. I literally have never seen another one, and I've tried. I've tried to open the door for more to come in, but I've never actually one. I've never seen another one in there arguing with these guys. So the way I got involved in that space to begin with was, a lot of these red pillars and various people like this were kind of getting brutalized by, the Matt Walshes of the world and this and that. They had a kind of brutal fight going on back and forth, and most of them would not step into the arena on the Christian ethicist side in order to combat any of these talking points and in order to combat any of these worldviews. I happen to be a person who was willing to do that. And so, as a side effect of that, I was able to earn the respect of many of the red pill content creators. That's true, but not because they agree with my positions. Rather, it's due to the fact that I come in with logical arguments and utilize Christian ethics and battle their worldviews. And I've managed to turn a lot of, or change a lot of minds about this particular worldview. And they know that. And so, it's when you battle with people for long enough, often you end up earning their respect. It's a side effect of this. But I have never been, nor will ever be, a red pillar. I'm a Christian ethicist, and all the proof is there for anybody who wants to actually look at that hoax as well. Another very common attack that you'll see levied against me, and you'll see it in the titles of almost all of these videos, is alpha male does X and then it has me, or alpha male gets destroyed and then it has me, or alpha male does this and then it has me. But this is a caricature. It doesn't represent me at all. I've never claimed anything like this. But not only that, I had a very famous interaction with a gentleman named Wes Watson where I gave a complete and total and thorough debunking of materialism, where I rejected materialism, rejected this idea of alpha male nonsense. My definition of success is having a family, having children, and being part of the apparatus of the world. And true wealth is a rejection of materialism. As Christ said himself, what good does it benefit a man to gain the entire world at the cost of his soul? And essentially, when I think of wealth, I think of materialism. It's okay to have materialism. It's not against Christian ethics to become rich, become wealthy. But I just think it's all beside the point, ultimately. And also, here's a clip of me doing the exact same thing where I changed Brian at Whatever Podcast Mind about alpha male hierarchies as well. And he went and looked at the literature that I had given him about the, false wolf connection with a bunk study.
on the whole alpha beta thing. This originated in like someone who did a study on wolves, but it actually was totally debunked. There's more nuance to this whole the categorization in wolf packs, for example, than an alpha.
Yeah, it's not so easily broken down into just alpha and betas. So,
but it is somewhat helpful a little bit. But
and I've always claimed that alpha hierarchies are nonsense. So the idea of like alpha male does this and that, that's all clickbait. Not only have I never presented myself that way ever, but it's a caricature which is used to attack me instead. Because I don't fit any of those boxes. I'm not like a gym nut or overtly aggressive or various things like this. I'm just not. I can be aggressive in debates sometimes. Things get heated, but I've never been in this stupid made up category, and the proof is there that I never have been. So ultimately, this is another attack which is designed around creating a caricature of me and then attacking that. And unfortunately, you can rage bait clips and make anything appear like anything. So another major criticism which is levied against me, this one is really silly, is that um, is that I give men advice, that I do some sort of advice giving to men and tell them that they should follow in my footsteps, or that I have life figured out, or something like this. I understand where this criticism comes from as well. This criticism is levied because many people who are in the Manosphere space run various advice courses and pick up dating courses and various things like this. Of course, most notably, Andrew Tate did something similar to this. I don't know all the details specifically, but it's a very common thing. And so, because of that, there's a natural assumption that I must be doing the same thing. That I'm trying to teach men how to be, I don't know, great pickup artist gurus or some crazy nonsense like this. None of it's true. In fact, the opposite is true. I purposefully go out of my way not to give advice. That's not what I'm here for. I'm only here to represent a worldview and nothing more. Again, here's clips and proof of me saying over and over again, don't ask me for advice. I don't give advice. I don't do advice. So this is another criticism which is easily debunked, another hoax which has been orchestrated by my bad faith critics.
You would actually ask for advice, you'd be able to give it.
I don't.
No?
And here's why. So from my perspective,
Yeah. You don't
exactly. Well, it's not just they don't want to their life, but I think that unless you intricately know a person's situation from the inside out, and it takes a long time to do that.
Yes.
To really get to know a person, that any advice you give them is likely going to be bad unless it's basic. The reason, so I'm very cautious about giving advice to people, and here's why.
Okay.
The first reason I'm very cautious about giving advice to people is because I think it's actually mostly irresponsible unless you really know a lot about that person's personal situation, their family dynamics, their income, all sorts of different factors, that I could actually give you advice that would be detrimental to you.
What age of men do you give advice to, Andrew?
I don't give advice to men.
Now, I wanted to cover as well that I have never strayed away from my message. Again, hostile environment after hostile environment, and I have been in them, doing debates and battling with people for years. So there's nothing new on this particular front. But again, the idea that I have some changing message or something like that is just silly. I've always stayed on the same exact message, which is to battle these people from the viewpoint of Christian ethics. And so I'm usually on the pull point saying, no, all this stuff is bad. And what they would have us do is leave ourselves at the mercy of having these things kind of go unchallenged and unopposed. And it's due to the fact that I oppose these various degenerate things such as prostitution, H sexuality, and other things like this, that I'm under such consistent and constant attack from both the left and then the kind of weaker Christian factions who refuse to engage at all in any of these spaces, and thus leaving them completely unchecked. The next criticism, and this one is probably the most amusing for the Crucible audience and for me. The thing that I have been most attacked for years has been the fact that I have stepchildren. This has been for years and years and years what the attack is. And that's not going away. That's always been the primary vector for the politics of personal destruction because I am conflated as being a red pillar by laymen who aren't familiar with my content. This is the primary mode of attack, and the goal of this is to try to turn certain audience segments against me because many people are against a person being a step parent or various things like this, which I understand. I understand the position well, but the fact that people think that I've tried to hide this is crazy. Not only is that not the case, but this is such a bad faith hoax that it's easily dismissed. In fact, here's a clip of me the very first time I was on Fresh and Fit in front of a massive Red Pill audience, giving kind of a bit of backstory when they asked me these questions of me explaining that I have stepchildren and that my wife had two previous relationships with which children came from.
I met my wife. My wife had children from her basically a high school sweetheart.
Okay.
And then she was married and divorced. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to work out.
Yeah.
But same thing. She completely devoted her life to me.
Yeah.
She's been fantastic. Now,
Did you come with kids as well, or no?
No,
you didn't come with children.
And people always, I get a lot of shit for that.
Yeah.
But what's funny is it's not a contrary position to understand that there's going to be outliers who are
Yeah, of
single
course.
moms.
Yeah.
But still having the general rule that you probably shouldn't date single moms.
Yeah.
Still true.
Yeah.
I think we can agree there's a
Still
gray
true.
area
Yeah.
on certain things in the RP.
And see, I don't know if the audience just noticed that, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of people that watch lack critical thinking skills. Mike, he's just told you, yo, typically this doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
There's outliers though in everything.
Yes.
In this situation, right? In general practice, you probably shouldn't get married to a woman that has children from another relationship. However, Andrew was able to make it work, and you guys been happily married for a while. So hey, it is what it is. But for the general masses, it ain't gonna work for most people.
Oh, look, man.
And he even admitted that. And it's like people still talk. So it's like, all
Bro,
right,
I tried it. It didn't work for me, but it works for him.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't even know where this attack comes from, but it's completely bad faith and it's a total hoax and it's completely made up. Now, oftentimes when I'm on shows, people will send in like super chat trolls and things like this, which I'll ignore or dismiss or say I don't know what you're talking about because they're trolling. You know what I mean? They're trolling, but this is no secret, and it's never been a secret, and nobody's ever attempted to hide it. What's to hide? I'm very happy with my stepchildren. I consider them my children, always have, and I'm very happy with my own children. So on that, like, kind of you. It's a pretty thing to try to dunk on me for. By the way, now another big criticism. This happens often. This is a continuous criticism. Is that because I don't generally talk about my personal life and never have, because I don't know what the hell that has to do with anything, that somehow I'm being nefarious and hiding things and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, there's a distinction between hiding something and keeping things private because they're none of anybody's business. But the second thing on this is nobody is ever looking to get more information about my personal life because they want good things for me. What the entire goal always is to take various, details in order to attack and assault family members, to commit to harassment campaigns of family members, and to basically do anything possible to harass people that I know or am or family or various things like this. And that's what all that it is. That's all that it's ever been. And so, of course, I don't talk much about myself and never have online. And I don't talk much about my children online. I don't talk much about anybody who's connected to me personally online. That's generally speaking a very bad idea. People will take facts and twist them to their own bidding, even if none of them are true. And when you combat that, the whole point of it is to get you to combat that with counterfactuals, and then that way they can take those and twist those as well, and then you combat those with counterfactuals, and before you know it, that's all you're doing with your life is just combating rumor mongering lunatics. So I'm not even going to mention any of these people who continue because just to mention them elevates them. But I'm not going to be talking about my personal life ever. It's not your business. That's one. And two, I don't really care what you think. It's not particularly important to me. It doesn't affect what I'm doing, which is debating and being an entertainer. But I'm not discussing those things. There's tons and tons of various family members and things like this, including my own children, and I don't make their lives public. It's obviously that can be when you're an entertainer at my level, it can be very threatening to various people, and so I'm not doing it, and I'm not going to sit and tit and tat war with these trolls for infinity to try to assuage whatever doubts they have about whatever. You can think whatever you want, like that I don't care about. But I do want you to at least contend with the positions that I put out there. Now, another massive attack, which comes basically from uninformed hoaxers online, is the argument from Hypocrisy, the tu quo. The idea here is that Andrew Wilson is a hypocrite as he attacks single mothers, but married a single mother himself.
Your wife has 3 baby daddies and has been married twice before. If Andrew Wilson met a woman like his wife with 3 baby daddies on the whatever podcast, he would shame her, call her a hoe, and tell her she's damaged goods and essentially unlovable. I want people to understand that they are hypocrites.
By the way, this is a self-defeating argument, as why would I be attacking single mothers if I married a single mother? It's the stupidest thing I ever heard. But just to give you some actual clips and insights here, right? So that you understand. Um, Here's some clips of me talking about this in depth on these various programs with single moms. I don't attack them at all. If a person has a terrible position, right, or they're advocating for some sort of evil degeneracy, perhaps prostitution, perhaps stripping, perhaps any number of various degenerate acts, which people tend to engage in and then move into the justification mode for, and then say those are good things or society should be moving towards these types of things, I will definitely attack those positions and often brutally. That's the purpose of debate. But to say that I attack women for just being single moms is insane, which is why it's never accompanied by clips of me doing that. Instead, you'll only find clips of me attacking positions. People often, they think that you're attacking them based on their situation. When you're not really attacking them based on their situation, you're just explaining the distinction in risk assessment. You're like, look, if I'm going to advise somebody, if I were to tell a man, right, is it a good idea in 2024 to get together with a single mom if another choice was viable? The answer is definitely no. And what happens is, because they're in the situation where they themselves are a single mom, they see that as an attack. But it's not an attack. It's just showing, look, this is what is true. It's not the case that it may be true in your situation or anybody's situation, but there is like a statistic here that we can look to, that we can make these kind of general determinations off of based on outcomes. There could be all sorts of reasons why women find themselves in the conditional of being a single mother, which is totally acceptable. For instance, perhaps their husband abandoned them, or perhaps their husband died, or perhaps there's there was abuse going on in the relationship. There can be extremely good reasons for why this happens. And the criticism that Andrew thinks that you just can't ever be loved again because you're a single mom is absurd. And again, these clips will prove that that is the case. In fact, in this particular clip, the woman, as she was leaving the studio, gave me a big hug and said, "Thank you for the conversation. It was very kind of you to walk through these things with me." The position, in essence, is a nuanced one, and it just goes like this. It is the case that if you're a single mother, you're going to have significant dating challenges that non-single mothers aren't going to have. That's it. Also, that there's going to be a lot of men whose preference is that they're not with a mother who has children already, because that opens up, all sorts of avenues for things that they would have to deal with baggage-wise that they would not have to ordinarily with women who are not single moms. How does that position equate to don't date a single mom, or that's bad to do, or things like that? Or I have no idea because whether or not in 2025 I would say I recommend it would have nothing to do with the bearing on the fact that there's plenty of good women out there who are single mothers who are in that position, not through any fault of their own. There's also a lot who are, and those are the facts. So, for me to give the basic position and the obvious position, which is that it's going to limit options inside of your love life, I don't think is anything which is newsworthy or I don't think that that take should break the internet. It's pretty obvious. And by the way, as a step parent myself, who would have more kind of experience to speak on something like that than me? Or my wife, having been in that position herself to speak on those issues, of course she's going to speak on those issues and speak on them from experience, as well as with stats and data and things like this. So this is an absurd attack, and it's a hoax attack. It's complete nonsense. This isn't what I do at all. I don't sit around and berate women because they're single moms. I will definitely go after women's worldviews if they're advocating that single motherhood is some type of like good conditional that you should be trying to strive towards. And yes, there are women who say that because they're insane. But it's never been my position to do that. That's absurd. And if I'm lying, show the clip. Show the clip. You can't because there isn't one. And the problem is if you have a nuanced position, in this case, the nuanced position is, look, this is going to limit some of your outcomes, which is completely reasonable to say that somehow that means you bad. And that's very silly. And again, a completely made up attack. Yeah. Next, we're going to get into one of the biggest issues which I see, which is the online seethers. Online seethers. And let me explain how this works. So, in the position that I'm in, I think many people, well, not many, but at least some people, they think that I came into an audience somehow by accident or I lucked into it or something like this. But I'm going to tell you what actually happened. What actually happened is that I'm a high performance debater, very high performance, and I'm a high performance entertainer. Because of that, because I put a lot of work into what it is that I do, I'm one of the best in the world at doing it. At this point, I don't even think that that's in dispute. Um, so that takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of effort, and in order to be very high performance on a tough, huge variety of issues, everything from feminism to political takes to, I mean, just you name it, and I probably debated it and very competently. In order to get to that level, you have to put in a lot of hard work and a lot of study. And most days I spend studying for the next debate. And of course, that information stays with you over time and this and that. I've actually done a ton to open more doors for more Christian ethicists to come into these various spaces and do these debates. I've tried to open as many as I possibly can. I am not the guy who pulls the ladder up behind me. Rather, I do trailblazing. And because I have been in this space doing this battle for so long, almost completely by myself, I would actually welcome some company. But the problem is, and this is an issue kind of across the board, is that people don't really realize the dedication that you would have to something like this or the high level of performance that you really have to have every single time you put on a show or engage in a high level debate or even a low level debate. And because of that, most people are not ever going to be good at it. And by most, I mean almost nobody. And what happened to me was not that I lucked into anything, it's that the cream rises to the top. And I'm very, very good at what I do. And because I'm very good at what I do, I managed to get to one of the higher, echelons of entertainment in this particular field. So I guess what I'm saying is to the seethers and haters, they think if Andrew Wilson is gone, then it will be my time to shine. Um, but it's just a lie that you're telling yourself. Ultimately, nobody's trying to close any doors on any of you seething idiots anyway. Rather, the case is that we've been trying to open as many doors for as many people, but they can't perform. They can't perform under pressure. They can't perform in debates. They just can't perform. And so, what we're left with is, it's still pretty lonely in these trenches. But that's one of the reasons that I have so many haters and seethers is because they're failed streamers. Many of them are failed streamers. They never could really get a good foothold in the streaming world, never could really build a large audience. They never really could make kind of viral clip after viral clip without trying. They couldn't really ever do that. And so people have kind of two choices. They can either blame themselves, which is what most people probably should do, is you take responsibility for yourself. Most people are not going to be good at this, and that's not even a controversial statement. Or you can blame other people. This person, they did it to me. This person did it to me. This person did it to me. That person did it to me. It's like, no, that's really not the case. So if you want to spend your entire life hyper focusing on the politics of personal destruction against Andrew Wilson, you can do that. But just note, then this is me trying to be totally honest with you. Just note that it goes nowhere. Even if it were the case that somehow I left the internet tomorrow forever, that's not actually going to help your positions at all. That's not going to help you get where it is that you're trying to go. So my advice would be actually focus on making great content, and then people will watch it. But I know that that falls on deaf ears. So, but it is something that I wanted to get out there for why the nature of the attacks. For some people, it's baffling. They're like, man, these people are extremely devoted, but that's why they're devoted. They're devoted because most of them have an axe to grind because they think it's unfair, that there's some fundamental unfairness here that's going on. That should be me is something I hear a lot, things like this. And it's like, well, just go do it. Nobody's stopping you. And lastly, let me point this out too. Many of the content creators who hate my guts, I have previously worked issues out with. Many times I've worked issues out with these people and never spoken about them again. And then when they feel like the opportunity is right, they begin gunning for me again because these people were never there to work out issues. They don't care about what's true. They don't care about what's false. They don't care about any of that. They only care about one thing: get the Wilsons. Now, I understand that, and that's going to be a culture which is around me perceivably for the rest of my online career. And there's not ever anything I'm going to be able to ultimately do about that. I'm just kind of fine with it. That comes with the territory. But I did want the audience to note that, and anybody watching this video, that I am willing to take on my critics, and I'm one of the few streamers who does this often, right? It's just that most of my critics are not willing to take on me, right? All they want to do is hyper focus on getting personal information from me so that then they can begin to do attack campaigns against people who I'm interpersonally connected to, which is why I don't take those debates. Andrew, let's debate about personal life from 18 years ago or 17 years ago or, whenever. No thanks. No thanks. That's all designed to make me have to produce counterfactuals and counter evidence, which then puts people's identities at risk. And then that will begin a brand new source of a harassment campaign for these people. So it's a very obvious strategy. It's been going on for years. But if you have legitimate criticisms, I'm willing to listen to them. But they have to be legitimate.